70 years ago, 50,000 Allied troops were forced to march from various parts of Singapore to Changi, where they were imprisoned at Selarang Barracks near the village of Changi for 3 years as prisoners of war. This 28-kilometer walk from the Padang to Changi was retraced by some 50 ex-servicemen, their families, Royal Marines personnel and Gurkhas in 2012 to remember that tumultuous time in Singapore's history. Rain pelted down at the start of the Remembrance Walk, adding to the somber mood of the participants, but the group was determined to see their march through. At 12:15 p.m. on Saturday, a minute of silence was held in the heavy downpour before the participants began their walk.
There are families who are going through wars throughout over the world, and it affects families, wives, mothers, fathers. And at that time, we had 50,000 people interned, and then they suffered quite tremendously for 3 years. Right now, there are families going through that over the world with forces being at war, and I guess it's to recognise the sacrifice they're going through.
While many walked to remember the sacrifices made by thousands in World War II, one participant had a more personal reason.
My aunt's fiancé was here in Singapore before the fall, and he was captured and was one of the troops that was marched from the Padang over to the chapel here, what is now the chapel area. He survived the war, but he never got out of Singapore because his treatment during the war, he was very, very badly malnourished, and unfortunately died six months after the liberation.
So coming to this march today, the Remembrance March, what's symbolic about this event to you?
Well, my aunt actually died about 4 or 5 months ago. She got to 88 years of age. She never married. She was a wonderful woman. I just wanted to do something to sort of mark my respect for her. She helped bring me up as well when I was young. I just wanted to mark her respect for the way her life changed and the way the life of her fiancé obviously changed and ended.
The route wound through Nicole Highway, Mountbatten, Bedok Road and Upper East Coast Road. Despite the constant rain, the participants kept their spirits high.
We flew in specially from Diego Garcia on Thursday, just for this event, and then we're going to head back on Monday.
So why do you choose to come to this event? What's the importance?
Well, I think it's very important to remember what our veterans went through 70 years ago, and the suffering, I think, in Singapore was particularly hard compared with, you could say, for the rest of the war. So I think it's really important that we remember what not just the Allied prisoners of war went through, but also the inhabitants of Singapore.
So right now we're in the middle of the walk. How do you feel so far?
I feel quite good. 12 kilometres, 12 miles. It's not a great deal for Royal Marines, but we've just had a bit of refreshment, so we're ready for the next half.
Only stopping for short breaks, the walkers, the oldest of whom was 71 years old and the youngest was just 1 year old, marched on to Bedok before gathering at the final destination, Changi Chapel and Museum.
Corporal Mitchell will now say the exhortation. They shall grow, not all, as we, to our left, grow. Age shall not weary us, nor years condemn. The going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. We will remember them.
Now we're at the end of the walk. How do you find it?
I found it good, positive, very challenging, especially with the weather, but I'm glad to be here. I think we should never forget the sacrifice of the guys back in 1942 and all of wars around the world. It's significance to me is that I hope that my children remember, and I hope that my children's children can remember also the sacrifice of many, many people to allow us to have the freedom that we see today.
Well, I think it's always good that we should remember what people in the past went through, and being ex-military myself, the fact that those guys had to sacrifice everything for us is, I think today is the least we could do was to do the walk. We have raised some money for our own military charities, so we try and do stuff, remembering what happened in the past, but also what's happening now on current operations.
The event was organized by Sandbag, an unofficial association formed by ex-military personnel from the British forces.